Yeah, you've asked a very, very deep question and a very important question. The way I see it, the struggle really is not between Islam and the West. The struggle is really between extremists on both sides and the modernists, the moderates. The struggle between the moderates and the extremists on both sides is really where the issue is. Since we do not have the concept of a pope, a clergy system, a clergy hierarchy, it is on one hand a blessing because it gives each one of us the responsibility to be accountable directly to our creator and not through an intermediary. On the other hand, it raises issues like this where anyone and everyone believes that they are an authority and then they are the only ones who have the truth. And they have the power to harness a following. Unfortunately, the internet has played, whereas the internet has been a blessing, it has also been the source from which people are radicalized. I'm going to deviate just a little bit about where I think that why I think that radicalism is taking place. It starts with bullying in the schools. This is where I'm coming from. This is one of the reasons why I'm engaged in the activities I'm engaged in, because I have grandchildren, teenagers in school, and I worry about their self-esteem. Bullying in schools and bullying in cyberspace is what leads to isolation, and isolation leads to one finding comfort in the internet, and then finding a sense of belonging with militant extremist groups and then gravitating in that direction. You are wanted, somebody respects you, somebody wants you, somebody believes in you, you move in that direction. So we need to focus on making sure that our children and our youth in schools and in colleges are safe. And it starts with the administration and it starts with the teachers. And that is where parents have to get involved in their local schools, in their local school boards, so that they have a voice and can immediately intercede when bullying takes place. Training needs to be done, sensitivity trainings need to be done so that we can arrest that problem and at the root of it. So I see that as one of the main causes. Okay, so you did mention that there is some confusion as to being a British Muslim and then being a secular Muslim. There is, I don't see it as being as much an issue of secular Islam, secular as opposed to being religious. I believe that there is room for a Muslim, I can only speak from an American perspective, in America to practice Islam without having to give up their religion and being secular, if that's what the definition of secular is. In the United States, there is freedom of religion, and that goes in favor of Muslims. I can pray 5 times a day in the privacy of my home, or even find room to do that in my place of work. There has been a lot of training going on recently for employees about how to accommodate the needs of their Muslim employees. I can fast, nobody's getting in my way to do that. I can give to charity, as long as it's a legitimate charity. Nobody's going to stop me from doing that. I can make the Hajj. So it is and profess the oneness in God. I mean, and all those things are my belief in the angels, my belief in the hereafter. I can practice that freely in the United States. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. So why should I walk away from my faith and just embrace secularity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not as hard to tread, but a lot of people, a lot of diaspora, the challenge that they assumably face is how to assimilate with the culture in the West while maintaining their religious uniqueness, because Islam is a religion which also dictates the way you culturally and you socially behave.
Yeah.
So, that at point for some people, it tends to become some sort of a challenge, a dichotomy on how to really navigate through both.
Yeah. So as an immigrant parent, we felt the same way, that how do we strike that balance of being a Muslim and maintaining our values of the culture that we came from, in this case, Pakistan, and at the same time integrating? Where do we strike that balance? Like, do I get a Christmas tree? Do I take a day off on Eid when it's not a day off? Will my children have an arranged marriage like mom and dad? So those were all issues that we had to grapple with. And what was interesting is that when we opened the doors of our mosque, this was in 1990 in New York, we noticed that there were people coming from all ethnicities, all countries of origin. Everybody was practicing or expressing Islam differently. And each felt that they were doing it the right way and that the other doesn't know what they're doing. That is when we realized that so much of what we practice is a consequence of our tradition and our culture from the old country, which we erroneously attribute to Islam. Because it's a Muslim, Pakistan is a Muslim country, and we are Muslims. Therefore, whatever we are doing has to be Islamic. And it's only when that clash of cultures took place that we realized. And to counter that, our children are American. So what about them? So to deal with that, we had to go back to the scripture, study the Quran, separate the theology from the culture, take the theology and wrap it in the colors of red, white, and blue. And by that, I mean an American expression of Islam, an American Muslim identity. We had to do it, we the immigrants had to do it deliberately, our children did it organically. And what I mean by that is that an American Muslim identity that evolved was one that was wholly American and wholly Islamic. So for example, some things did not change. Our 5 articles of faith have not changed. Our creed has not changed. Our values have not changed. But what has changed is how we express it. Other than the obvious, which is dress, let me take the example of marriage. Muslim women in the United States are no longer changing their maiden name. I changed my name. I was Sabiha Akbar. I became Sabiha Rahman, not because it was the Islamic way, which it was not, but because it was the British way. Pakistan was a British colony. And this was the legacy that the British left behind. And over the centuries, we began to associate it with religion. You take your husband's name when you get married. Women here who are studying the Quran in the language that they understand are saying, hey, wait a minute. God says in the Quran, call the child by his father's name. That's my permanent identity. I'm not giving it up. Very American, very Islamic. Even how we conduct weddings has changed. In Pakistan, a religious ceremony, the nikah, was held in private, and then the celebration was held, in a banquet hall. So when I got married, I was upstairs in the bedroom with the girls, and my fiance was downstairs in the living room with the guys, and the cleric was running up and down the stairs, getting the consent and the witnesses, and after all was said and done, then get dressed up, go to the banquet hall, have a reception. Here, if you walk into the Hyatt Regency Hotel, you will see that the bride and the groom are sitting on the stage, the imam in the middle, conducting the nikah in public. Very Islamic, because an announcement of a marriage has to be a public announcement, and it's very American. The bride is no longer wearing red, which was the Pakistani way. She's wearing white. The Quran doesn't say what the color of the bride's dress should be. She's throwing the bouquet. Nothing un-Islamic about that. She is not weeping or lowering her gaze. That wasn't Islamic. Just culture. It was fine. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. It's just culture. She's dancing away. That's okay. Interfaith marriages will take place. And again, it is permitted. Our religion allows that. We will have Christmas trees in our house because we believe in the birth of Jesus Christ. We can express our celebration of his birth any which way we want. But what is very interesting in how we have integrated or how we are expressing Islam in an American context is the role of women. In the old country, in Pakistan, women did not go to the mosques, at least not when I was growing up. It was a man's thing, a man's space. Here, they're running the place. They are on the boards, they are defining the curriculum of the Sunday schools, they are teaching, they are doing the fundraising, they are at the table. And that is an extension of motherhood, of nurturing the future generation. Nothing un-Islamic about that, and it's very American.